I'm Linda Hirsch, and this is EdCast, a program created and produced by educators for everyone interested in education. This May 2022, CUNY celebrated its 175th birthday, a milestone for the university founded on the principle that a college education is the right of all, not just those with financial means. Today, EdCast speaks with CUNY Chancellor Félix Matos Rodríguez about CUNY's rich history and the pivotal role it plays in transforming the lives of its students. Coming up now on EdCast. Joining me today is CUNY Chancellor Félix Matos Rodríguez. His ties to CUNY are many. He is a former Hunter College faculty member and served as president of both Ostos Community College and Queens College. He now oversees the largest urban institution of higher education in the country and is also its first Latino chancellor. Thank you so much for joining us today on EdCast and to help celebrate CUNY's 175th birthday, Chancellor Matos Rodríguez. What I'd like to do, if you don't mind, is go back a little bit to the origin story of CUNY, and perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how this great university began.
Well, thank you, and it's great to be here in the program. I miss being with you at the studio, but I hope that we get that chance to do that soon. And thank you for all you've done in this space through the years, Linda, to communicate with the audience. So we're celebrating 175 years, the Free Academy, which is where the City University had its origins. And with an idea that should be very familiar to those who know our mission and follow our history, which is that there is incredible talent in New York City. There is incredible intelligence. There's incredible aspirations, but not always the path of opportunity. And at a time, particularly where higher education was really correlated with being something that only the wealthy had a chance to do, the idea of the Free Academy was quite radical, that you could have free college education for the sons and daughters of the poor in New York City, and that poor also was highly immigrant. So that's the origins of CUNY. That Free Academy evolves into what is City College right now. It begins to grow with then Hunter College and Brooklyn College and Queens College. And in 1961 is when our system as a collection of universities really is born. And at that point, it was just 7 schools. It was those first original 4, City, Brooklyn, Hunter, and Queens, in addition to Staten Island Community College, which was the first 2-year school here in New York City that the Board of Higher Education approved, then Bronx Community College, and then Queensboro. So those are the 7 schools that begin to form that fabulous system that we now know as the City University of New York.
Now, let's talk a little bit about our current system. We have some demographics that we're going to put on screen as well, and perhaps you can tell us how big we are now and how many campuses and what do we know about the current university.
So I'm happy that you're providing that information. We have 25 campuses, and we have 4-year schools. We have 7 community colleges, which Ostos, right? We need to make that plug, right, Linda, for our friends at Ostos.
Yes.
And we have the professional schools. We have the Macaulay Honors College, which sort of is following that consortium model that was originated in the idea of the Graduate Center. And we are about 240,000 give or take students on path for credit courses, and we have another 220,000 in continuing education classes. So a really sizable footprint in all 5 boroughs. Proud that our campuses are anchor institutions. Each of our campuses, where they're located, they're a vital part of the economy, of the cultural life, of the civic fabric of those communities. Many of the most important discussions in all neighborhoods happen in our classrooms because they use them to meet for the community. So very proud of that footprint, and also of what the graduates of this great university have done for our city. I mean, we are about to get into commencement season, and I want to remind people that about 90% of our graduates stay in New York City. So the investments that we make in that education, in that civic engagement, in that expansion of the mind in our students is something that comes right back and stays here in New York City.
Now, we have a university, as we know, founded on the principle it is a place for the children of the rich and the poor to sit together. So I know we know that our university has done so much to help the children of the poor. And let's talk a little bit then. What do we know about CUNY and its role in socioeconomic mobility for the students that attend?
Well, thank you for that question, Linda. I mean, of course, you would assume the chancellor of any system will be proud of the system they represent. Fortunately for us, we have some economists at some prestigious universities whose names I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to give them free publicity, but have documented that there is no better system in the country moving individuals that come from the bottom socioeconomic percentages of the population into the top percentage of the population. Nobody does it better than the City University of New York. Our recipe for success has been affordability. We were free up until the 1970s, and we have been almost free for about 66% of our students right now. So you have access, and we have great faculty like you and great staff that support those students. So those two things have been really the secret formula for CUNY's outstanding record of social mobility in the city of New York. And that continuity has always been important. But as we rebuilt our city back from the pandemic, as we rebuilt our economy, that role of CUNY, of securing social mobility for the next generation of poor New Yorkers, immigrant New Yorkers, is even more indispensable.
I know that CUNY has also played a role in helping the city during the pandemic. Do you want to speak a little bit about what CUNY has done?
Oh, I'm so proud, Linda, because as I mentioned, our campuses are anchor institutions. So I haven't seen the latest numbers on how many New Yorkers have been vaccinated by now, but 750,000 New Yorkers got their vaccines and boosters in one of our campuses. We were in the front lines of providing that key service and that key public health tool to help us get out from the pandemic. Our students in the medical school, the first medical school class in our history, graduated in the middle of the pandemic. And I had to be part of that ceremony in advance because we wanted to get them before the traditional time so they could go to the front lines of first responders. The first person in the US to be vaccinated is a CUNY alum from Lehman College from the nursing program. Our nursing faculty, our nursing students have been in the front lines volunteering all through the pandemic. So you have that. Folks forget that a lot of policemen, firefighters, EMT, and other first responders also get their degrees at CUNY, associates and sometimes bachelors, right? So in all those front lines, we were right there. Our faculty in some of the campuses were key in getting some of the tools that were used to fight the pandemic. There were some researchers from Queens College that were helping to measure the bacteria in the sewage water, right, so you could detect beforehand where the virus was going. So very, very proud of our work through the pandemic.
Now, what has it been like for you to be the chancellor during this time, however? I mean,
well, certainly it is not the script that I thought I was going to get into because, I became chancellor in May of 2019.
Just in time.
Right. And so we had that semester. And then in March, we were pivoting 500,000 courses who were face-to-face into some form of online instruction. So it has been really a test. I think that I am, like you must be, and like our faculty and administrators and staff, everybody's running on fumes, on empty. It's been the emotional toll, the psychological toll has been huge, but we have also shown the stuff that we're made of. I mean, I'm so proud of particularly that first semester, faculty going out of their way to find ways to connect with the students when many of them were not familiar with sometimes online education. So, I think that we show our very best during that time. I would tell you that it was a lesson in humility because this virus kept changing and the strategies needed to adapt to it kept changing. It was very frustrating because people wanted certainty. People wanted a roadmap for solution. And we now know that that script never is written in advance.
Right.
So that was challenging, to be candid. How do you keep your institution safe, being so big and so diverse? But how do you keep the mission going? I mean, one of the things that I'm the proudest, Linda, is that last year we graduated the largest graduating class. I think it was like 58,000 students in the history of CUNY. So in the middle of the pandemic, we were able to send all those New Yorkers with an education, with their degrees, to be able to advance their lives. And so a lot to be proud of, but it was a moment of great humility in at times having to acknowledge that you didn't have all the answers that people might want for you to have in advance.
And we still don't have all those answers, but you are speaking to the great pivot in education, because obviously what happened here, the way we could graduate all these students, was we had to make a really rapid shift to online learning. And I think across the country now, we are trying to think about what are the lessons we're learning about education and the modalities to deliver education. What do you think are some of the lessons? I mean, maybe it's too soon to tell. I mean, we have to take a bigger look, but can we tell anything so far about what we're taking away in terms of modalities of instruction?
So I'll say two things, Linda. Thank you for that brilliant question. One, I think that we've all learned si se puede, right? Think about how many things, and you've been a longtime member of our higher ed community. Think about how many things we all thought. You were in a meeting and we said, well, we could convert so many classes in this way. That would never happen. We never get to do that. Or you used to say, listen, really, people are never going to respond to counseling and advising and mental health advising if it's not in person, right? And look how many strides we made in being able to be really supportive in providing advising and services, via online. And for example, mental health, which has been such an important need that we've had to address, how telemedicine has played a role in allowing us to respond to individuals in a timely way. So one lesson for me moving forward, and I don't want to forget it, is si se puede. Many things that we sometimes think that we cannot do and do at scale, I think it showed us that it's a matter of will more than execution. So, and I want to keep that spirit of innovation for the things that matter, right? I think we also learned that there's some things that we cherish and that we miss and that we need to embrace back in a new context, right? So I think that those two things are key. On the modalities, as you know, and I said this in your program when you first invited me when I was chancellor, I'm old-fashioned. Teaching matters, and I know it matters to you. And we know that if we do our teaching slightly better, our students do better. And we don't emphasize that enough in higher education. We don't get trained to teach as graduate scholars. We sort of like learn it as we go in school. And for me, what was interesting is that when we pivoted to online learning, rightfully so, there were concerns about, do people have the skills to teach online? Do they have the training? Do they have the knowledge? All reasonable, right? There was a big interest in the quality of that instruction. I just want that we're consistent, that we scrutinize the quality of instruction, not just for online and hybrid, but also for face-to-face. Because as you know, there's a lot of wonderful face-to-face, but there's a lot of mediocre face-to-face that we need to address. So for me, one big victory of this time is the emphasis on that teaching matters, and that be able to provide our faculty with the latest in what's best in classroom instruction is a value that we need to embrace. And if we do that, our faculty feel more empowered. Everybody wants to be a better teacher. People maybe don't say it because we don't have the reward system at times to do that, but they want it, and our students benefit.
I think the emphasis on quality teaching is an excellent area. And I think it'll be interesting to see all the data that now comes out about how students perform online versus face-to-face. I know for younger children, they have not done that well.
Yep.
We're seeing data coming out that shows they have many deficits as a result of the online instruction, but we don't know about higher ed. Certainly, we all had to learn how to do this really quickly. I had to learn almost overnight. We had training, but it's not the same as being really experienced. So it'll be interesting. And I think you're absolutely right. We need to pay attention to the quality of all of our teaching and the outcomes for our students in terms of the learning.
Well, Linda, can I just make a point? Because
Sure.
you made, and again, I think you put the cautionary comment at the beginning of the first question, which was, dead on in terms of, we might need some distance to really get a sense as to really what we went through, right? And I think that's always, as a historian, a phenomenal perspective for anything. But the one thing also that we need to sort of make sure, and we do look at the data of the learning outcomes and the learning loss, all those things of our students and K-12, is that they were also going through a pandemic, right? So we need to factor in that whatever performance we're measuring in that classroom also was in the context of a very larger phenomena. So it's not just your average person learning online in normal times, right? And how do we factor for that? I leave that for the researchers to figure that out. But I think it's important to put that in the context, right? That it's not that whatever we learn about that moment, it's like studying something that happened during a war or something else. The larger context also matters and needs to be taken into account.
And now that we're getting better at online teaching, we can do better studies as well. So we can really see it's not going to be all these novices who do everything so quickly. You can really measure quality. So these are really big research areas that I think are going to be opening up. I see many PhDs in the future on these very topics. So you have a unique perspective of having been the president of both a community college and a senior college. I don't know if any other chancellors had that opportunity. So I'd love to know, what do you see as the challenges that they share, and what might be unique to each type of institution that they don't share?
That's, again, an excellent question. I mean, I think that for the community colleges, right, and it's something that I have stressed to our 7 presidents, and I think we're very fortunate that we have new leadership in 5 of our 7 schools. So I think there's a sense of camaraderie among that group, which I find very inspiring, which we've had in the past, but I think there's something special about this group. I mean, the enrollment loss is a concern, right? And the first concern, people think that I'm concerned about it because of the budget impact. That's part of my job. I worry about that. But for me, it's the loss of opportunity. It's so many New Yorkers, right, who we know need that education for their next career opportunity, for their next expansion in life, for their own civic engagement and growth, for their own development as a person, that are now benefiting from that. And that is a tragedy. And on top of that, operationally for us is an issue in terms of resources. So I think that we should not just assume that this is just the pandemic. I think some of this is the pandemic and we're going to get some stuff back. But I think that we need to go back to some of the way that we design programs and courses in the community colleges. I think that we might need to be less dependent on a group of students that come to us in need of remediation for the next step.
Mhm.
I think the colleges are going to need to be first that community anchor institution that's going to bring people, and then it's going to be the quality of their programs and the quality of how they work with their students that's going to want people to go to the community college, as opposed to needing to go there because I require, for example, to do remedial work. And I think that that's going to be a shift in emphasis. But I think that we have the great human talent in our faculty and the staff to make that pivot. But I think that that is coming down the line. In terms of the four-year schools, the enrollment at the community colleges is an issue because there's the transfer pipeline. So they need to be careful about that. I think moving forward, Linda, the issue of differentiation, which is not easy, is going to become more important because it's going to be more difficult to justify a lot of duplication all over the system, and that's always tricky and that's always complicated. But I think schools need to, if we're going to have, to give an example, if everyone's going to have a cybersecurity program because there's demand, right? Let's specialize on different kinds of, so your college has a different reason why somebody would go, right? If we are working in a field of the humanities, right? Let's make it a way that it is connected to some other fields, it's connected to other areas, so that gives it a distinction that will make it attractive for someone to come, as opposed to just going to any other place. So I think that that is a big role. I think, Linda, that in addition to, and the whole connection to the world of work, and
Yes.
when I mean that, it's not just STEM and it's not just allied health. Work is becoming a professor. Work is becoming a poet, right? So I mean it in the broadest sense. We need to get better at that arena, and then the civic engagement. Our role in giving tools to people to be able to have conversations, to be able to have common ground, to be able to reach consensus. I think that you would agree that the country badly needs that, and New York and city and state need that. And I think that we need to be a bit more intentional in our work in giving students the tools to do that.
So you are already looking forward, and that was going to be something I wanted to ask you. What do you see moving forward? I do know that you are on the Mayor's Recovery Task Force, correct?
Yep.
What do you see happening there that will have an impact on the university?
Well, I mean, first, I commend the mayor for that line of work. Is work about readiness, so that we're not caught as unprepared as we were. And I think that, I mean, to be candid, and I don't want to be a Monday morning quarterback, but there was a little bit of New York City bravado when this whole thing started. And, we're in New York and we have the best hospitals and we have all these things, and this virus ain't going to knock us down. So I think we took that on the shin, but we came back with force. So the preparedness is something that I want to be, commending the mayor and his team for putting us together. How we work together and we don't duplicate services. What are some of the lessons about what we learned coordinating with the Health and Hospitals Corporation, for example? So I'm happy that we're having all those conversations now to create, a roadmap that would be always imperfect because you cannot anticipate everything. But I'll give you one example, right? In our own campuses, we saw the need for computers and portable hotspots for the students when we pivoted to online.
Right.
So God forbid that we have something similar, that we have to, not a semester, but a month or so to do that. How many of those do we keep in stock, assuming that, right? I mean, these are very bread and butter questions, but these are some of the things that matter. So I'm delighted that we're part of those conversations because we always end up being part of the response. And I think that I'm excited that people are coming together. Another beautiful thing about that space is that it's the private sector, philanthropy. So everybody's at the table. It's not just the public entities. So much to be learned and much to be ready for.
Great. We are running out of time. I just want to ask you two things quickly. Do you think, in terms of support for CUNY, that the city and the state are friendly?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Best budget at the state level we've had in decades.
Okay.
I think we have a governor who's been on the record of being pro public higher ed, and the mayor very much thinks about CUNY. In the transition community, to give you an anecdote, the Bloomberg Foundation had a program of interns to help in the transition, normally staffed by students from Hopkins and Harvard. The mayor said, I love the program. I love those places. Give me CUNY students. Very much on the mayor's mind.
Okay, so we're completely out of time. I do want to thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us. You were, as always, so informative and such an asset to the university. And thank you during your very busy week for taking the time to meet with us and talk with us about our university.
Thank you, Linda. Any excuse to be with you.
You're going to regret that.
I look forward to being back in the studio with you.
Oh, you're going to be
Enjoy
back.
the summer.
That's it for this edition of EdCast. Happy birthday, CUNY. And congratulations to all the graduates of the class of 2022. A special shout out to CCNY for the excellent education it gave me and so many of my friends and family. Wishing CUNY many more years of providing students with an empowering and transformative education. Have a great summer, everybody.
We'd like to hear from you. Please send your thoughts and comments to cunyedcast@gmail.com.